podcast, and today we have a really interesting one. We are going to be talking about the importance of community, and specifically a mutual aid community. And at Community Coin, we spell community with a K, but what we're going to be talking about is community in general and why mutual aid communities are going to be essential for everyone as this year progresses and the coming years progress. And so we're going to be doing a blog post about this, and it's going to be a really long one with so much information and so many hyperlinks. And you could spend days studying this blog post, and I hope that you do because there's so much really great information. But I'm going to just kind of give you a sneak peek, a preview of what you can find in this blog post. Some of it I'm just going to be reading to you from the draft of the post, and some of it I'm just going to be commenting on things that are in the post. So let's jump in and get started. You probably think that everything in your life is okay. You're getting by, things could certainly be better, but they're good enough. You have a place to live and some food to eat. You probably are able to buy the things that you need and many of the things that you want. When you're not working, you enjoy just relaxing at home, watching Netflix or playing video games or whatever it is that you like to do for relaxation and fun. You're feeling like maybe life is fine. Of course, you aspire to more. Who doesn't? But, that would take more effort. So you tell yourself that things are okay and where you are at the moment is fine, because anything more would require more effort, and you just really maybe don't want to make that effort. Or maybe you think that the economy is just fine, that the current state of politics is just fine, the state of the world is just fine, and everything is going to go just as it always has, and there will never be any need to do more than you are doing right now, or more than you have done in the past. After all, everything is fine. Or maybe you feel like you don't have options. Maybe you feel like the system is rigged, or you were dealt a bad hand, or your circumstances prevent you from doing any better. Maybe you have addiction issues or legal issues or financial issues or health issues or social issues, and you keep telling yourself that these obstacles are the things that are preventing you from having more and doing more. Maybe you think, I've always gotten by okay, and I always will. I'll just wait and see what happens and figure it out when the time comes. But let me tell you, successful people make plans and goals. Successful people dig deep and find the motivation to pursue those plans and goals. Successful people keep pushing and moving forward despite setbacks, obstacles, or challenges. Successful people do not make excuses. They do not accept the status quo. They do not doubt their ability to do more. And they do not feel like they are powerless in the face of obstacles. This is the difference between average people and successful people. Life is hard for everyone, even those that have succeeded financially or socially. No one has ever lived without struggles and hardships. So the question is, are you truly satisfied with being average, or do you believe that you're capable of more? Now, the world is full of average people, and they are no less valuable than anyone else. And if being average is all that you aspire to, then there's no shame in that. But if you aspire to being more than average, to living a better life, then this is an article that you are definitely going to want to study. We recently did an article on apathy at thecoinblog.com. That's coin spelled with a K. And I'm going to read a little bit to you about that blog post or that blog article. And in the upcoming blog, we titled this section, Why Apathy is Deadly. And it truly is. So let's look at apathy. When it comes to the subject of timeless wisdom, few sayings provoke more thought about the current state of society than give a man a fish and he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish and he eats for a lifetime. This saying has come to my mind repeatedly because I spend a lot of time volunteering in community service, and I desperately want to teach people to fish. And so I think about this a lot. And this simple yet profound idea really captures the essence of self-reliance and the transformative value of empowerment. But in today's society, this sentiment seems to be increasingly overlooked, particularly in the context of the growing apathy epidemic. Apathy refers to a lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern about things that typically evoke emotion or excitement. It can manifest as indifference, passivity, or a lack of motivation to engage in the world or take action. Apathy can be observed in various aspects of life, including personal relationships, work, politics, and social issues. It often involves a sense of detachment and disengagement from one's surroundings or responsibilities. And we can see that there is an apathy epidemic today, and we see it in various forms, from political disengagement to reliance on quick fixes and handouts rather than pursuing sustainable solutions. At its core, it reflects a fundamental disconnect between the desire for immediate gratification and the willingness to invest in long-term growth and self-sufficiency. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the pervasive attitude of wanting the fish without the inclination to learn to fish. And apathy is literally deadly. When a person loses the motivation to thrive or even survive, and when times become existentially challenging, they won't have the ability to survive those kinds of challenges. They'll end up in refugee camps, FEMA camps, detention centers, or living under a bridge or on a sidewalk, begging in the streets for scraps and drinking water out of the gutter. They'll be begging for any kind of help that anyone will offer them. And why is that? Because of apathy. In the times leading up to existential challenges, and these challenges are certainly coming, there are warnings of what is to come. And if a person is suffering from apathy, they choose to ignore the warnings. They lack the motivation or the interest about what is going on around them and preparing for what is inevitable. Now, complacency is a different thing. It's sort of a much less intense form of apathy. Complacency is more just that you're comfortable in your normalcy bias, and you don't want to even think about your comfortable little life being interrupted. And complacency is definitely something that is pervasive. But apathy, the pathologic extension of complacency, is becoming much more common and almost epidemic. Complacency in the coming times will result in extreme hardship, but apathy will literally be deadly. but there is still time to become proactive and prepare for the coming existential hardships. So let's take a proverbial deep dive into the subject and learn about what you can do. Again, when this article is published on thecoinblog.com, I encourage you to study it and see all of the wealth of information about this subject. I can only give you some highlights in this podcast, but please take the deep dive and go to thecoinblog.com, coin spelled with a K, and keep an eye out for this. And look at all of the other articles. They're really, really good. So then where are we at the moment? It doesn't take much effort to see where we are at the moment. Of course, if you're watching the mainstream news outlets, then you're really not going to have a very good idea because they're not invested in telling you what is actually happening there. Invested in telling you what gets them ratings and makes them money. So you have to find some more reliable news outlets to actually understand what is happening at the moment. And in the article that's coming up, we list a few for you that are good sources. Coin News is one really great one. That's KOIN News. And you can find that at the Community Coin website. It's our newsletter, and it is exceptionally good. It is more important at this time in history than at any other time to be well informed, because the world is changing very quickly, and it's headed into what has been called a meta-crisis. And a meta-crisis is just a convergence of many crises into one large, incredibly overwhelming crisis. From world war to economic collapse to potentially end times. And that we also have an article about the meta-crisis at thecoinblog.com. So check that one out too. So how could you survive hard times or catastrophic situations? Hard times are absolutely coming, and very soon, I might add. So you owe it to yourself and your family to know where we stand at the moment and where things might be going. And so check out, again, the upcoming article for information on that. So where are we going? Oh my, that is such a big subject. And we've got it all listed in this upcoming article. Well, not all, but I mean, we have a lot of stuff listed in the upcoming article, but the newsletter is where you will find the good information. You definitely need to subscribe to that newsletter, and at the Community Coin website, or even on any of the blog posts, you can find the free newsletter. So on this blog post, when it comes out, there'll be a button at the top that shows you how to get the newsletter. So where this is going is no place good. And check out this article to get the details on that. So then the big question that you're asking is how does this affect me? And how it will affect you depends to a great extent on how well informed you've been all along and how well you've prepared for the difficulties that are inevitably coming. But let's just hit on a few things that you might expect that will impact you greatly. There is definitely coming a huge change in the world economic system. And as an economic system starts to collapse or be reshaped, we see a tsunami of economic events. Things may start as a bank holiday and then cascade into bank failures, public safety lockdowns, token or deposit tokens, CBDCs, the outlawing of alternative forms of money and currency. And how are you going to survive a period of time, maybe it's a month or 2 months or 3 months, when this transition happens where you don't have access to money, you don't have access to banks or credit cards. How are you going to navigate that? And that is almost certainly coming fairly soon. And then there's the issue of world war. That is certainly inevitable. I mean, most people would say that we're already in it, but it's absolutely going to get worse. And so now we're in a time where we're in what's called fifth generation warfare, which includes things like cyber warfare and infrastructure warfare, political warfare, information warfare, proxy warfare, economic warfare. So it's a world war will affect you here in the United States, even though maybe the actual kinetic fighting is not taking place here. If the internet goes down, how does that affect you? If the electricity goes out, how does that affect you? If the political system is in ruins, how does that affect you? If you're being bombarded with propaganda, how does that affect you? If the economy is collapsed on purpose, how does that affect you? So it affects you incredibly. And so what can you do about it? And the good news is there are things that you can do about it. It's overwhelmingly scary and pessimistic, and it sounds like, oh man, I'm in big trouble and there's nothing I can do. But actually there are things that you can do. And we list those things in great detail for you in the upcoming article. And so that would be the best place to find it. But just to start, be realistic about current events and about the future. Don't be a person that just hides your head in the sand, hoping that everything will go away, refusing to acknowledge the reality of a situation. That's not going to get you anywhere, but also don't go the other direction. Don't be overcome with anxiety and fear and depression and just be a constant, crazy prepping person. You have to have a reasonable balance. You have to be informed and make preparations, but you also have to continue to enjoy life. Another thing that you can do right away is start learning. Learn about history and cycles, current events, predictions, and forecasting. See what other people have to say about what's going on. Read things. Listen to people. And preparedness. Just think about, are you prepared for small emergencies? For bigger emergencies? For catastrophes? You know, it all just boils down to common sense, really. Be informed, make appropriate preparations, reevaluate and make appropriate adjustments as needed, and pray for God's grace in your life and during emergencies. We can't control life, but we do have responsibility to be active participants in our own well-being, as best we can anyway. So don't be complacent or apathetic. Make the effort to secure your future and that of your family. Then we also discuss things like alternative economies, like community economies, time banking, local exchange trading systems, mutual credit systems, cooperative communities, mutual aid groups. When we talk about alternative lifestyles like minimalism, ethical consumption, communal living, simple living, multi-generational living, homesteading, things like that. And then we wind up this incredible source of information that is this article with talking about what is a community coin community? And that's all that spelled with a K. Community with a K, coin with a K. And the last community with a K also. And we lay it all out for you, how to do it and how to do it well. So in a nutshell, you know, we've covered a lot of information in this article, and we've tried to explain the importance of community and why building it today is essential. And I genuinely hope that you found it helpful and that you will find the article helpful and that you move forward with building your mutual aid community as soon as possible. It really is very important, and it doesn't cost anything but time and effort. So Here's to your success in building your community. And cheers, my friend, and we will talk to you on the next podcast.